Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. Today's clip is going to be a little bit different than the ones I normally post because it's kind of a sad topic, but I think it's important to talk about it because what happened to me last weekend, I'm sure has happened to a lot of flyers out there. And one of the reasons I started this channel a couple of years ago was to talk about technology because I love technology, but it was also to help people out there understand the technology better and really to make us better flyers and better nerds out there using technology. So with this particular situation, it's embarrassing, but I think there's a learning experience in there that I can maybe relate to you to help you avoid the same situation. And what I'm talking about is last weekend, I was out flying my Air 3 drone and I crashed it. I not only crashed it, but I lost it. And I'd never lost a drone before, and I know that sounds pompous to say that, but I'm really careful when I'm flying to be situationally aware of where I'm flying, the hazards in the area. I map out my flight patterns. I check for aircraft in the area. I look for wires that may be hidden along the way, and I'm sure a lot of you do as well. So I'm an extremely careful flyer when I put a drone up. And I actually, in my mind, already know what shots I want and the angles I'm gonna pivot the drone into to get those shots. So I'm very, very planned when I do a flight. I go out and have a lot of fun with it, but I definitely take my time as a responsible pilot, again, like I'm sure a lot of you do, to understand the area I'm flying and the hazards in that area. So this day was no different. I had a brand new Air 3 drone. I was out doing some flights, trying to capture some amazing footage, and I was over a farm near me that I've flown probably 100 times with different drones. Now, let me set the stage for you here. So the Air 3 drone is an incredibly sophisticated drone. It's got very advanced crash avoidant technologies built in, so if it gets close to something, it'll pull back, it won't run into a tree. It's got APAS in it, which is automated pilot assistance system that'll actually navigate between hard objects, so it finds the holes and flies between them. So it's almost an impossible drone to crash. It also has ADS-B built in, which is a detection technology that when planes are in the area, they have an ADS-B broadcast beacon that they're sending out, and this controller in the drone can sense that and let me know as a pilot that there's an aircraft in the area. So all those things were turned on in the drone. Now, the situation was kind of interesting because I'm flying over a farm and I live out in the country here, so there's a lot of small farms, there's a lot of small airplanes, there's a lot of crop dusting going on, where they're treating the fields with different chemicals and fertilizers. And I'm flying the drone, I've got ADS-B turned on, and I had a certain path I was trying to fly to capture some beautiful footage of this farm. So I'd flown that path once, and what I normally do is when I'm done with that, I want to do that same exact flight 3 or 4 times to make sure that I've got, the right imaging and I've got focus right and I've captured the right framing of that particular subject. So what I normally do is when I finish the run, I'll drop in a sport mode, fly back to the starting point, spin it around, put it back in regular mode, and do the flight again. So I'd done it once, I'd flown back at high speed, I did it a second time, and then I was about to come back on the third flight to start over for my third pass, put it in sport mode, started flying back, and as I was flying back, all of a sudden, out of my left ear and my periphery on this side, I saw a small prop plane heading out over the field. Now imagine my panic there because it didn't have an ADS-B beacon on it, which it doesn't have to because it's a smaller plane, but here I am thinking, I got a plane in the air, I got a drone in the air, the plane's well below 400 feet, I don't know whether they were crop dusting a field or coming in for a landing, but I had a couple of seconds to react. And what I always say whenever you're out flying is you have to have the presence of mind to not react quickly. Now, a couple of things went wrong here that really put me in a bad situation. Number one, I had it in high-speed mode. It was in sport mode. When you turn sport mode on in the drone, what happens? All of the crash avoidance turns off. So here I am flying back at high speed. I see the plane. I'm in the sky. I could visualize the plane. There's the plane. There's my drone. They weren't anywhere near each other, but I thought to myself, I have to drop. So I immediately dropped down. Now the other challenge with sport mode is that the drone moves quickly and it's also sloppy, so it doesn't stop. Like when you're in regular mode and you slow down and take your thumb off the joystick, the drone actually stops. In sport mode, it slides past that stopping point quite a bit. And that's true in the horizontal direction as well as the vertical direction. So when I descended, I came down incredibly fast, and through my vision, I could see coming down over the field, and I thought I was well out over the field, but I came down over a stand of trees. So you'll see in the video, the drone actually dropping down, and then all of a sudden, in my video feed, I've got leaves, which means I know I'm in a tree. And now my blood pressure's up, I'm reacting, the adrenaline kicked in. I know I'm not gonna have a problem with the plane, but now the drone's in trouble. And I should have taken a moment, it hadn't crashed yet, I should have taken a moment and thought about it and said, okay, danger's averted. We're not going to have an introduction of the plane, so there's no issues there. All I have to worry about at this point is safely bringing the drone back to home and landing it. But instead, in that moment of panic, instead of elevating the drone, which would have taken me out of the trees, what did I do? Watch the video. Joystick forward. Joystick forward right into a tree branch. Now, that's bad enough, right? Because I've got a crashed drone at this point. But I've got the Find My Drone feature, so I thought to myself, okay, I'm watching the drone tumble through the tree. I'll find the drone. I've hit trees before and drones have landed and I've gone out and found them. So I thought, not a big deal. It's not my field, but I know the farmer well, so I'll just head out in the field. I'll go over by those trees and I'll search for it and I'll use the beacon and turn on the lights and the beeping and everything will be good to go. But one thing you'll notice in that video is at the very end of it, it went blank. Now that doesn't normally happen unless a battery gets knocked loose or there's some major damage to the drone or it hits water. Now, here's the ironic part. I mean, this is really the perfect storm of disaster because foolish me, it's a pilot error. I'm not blaming any of this on the technology or anything but me as a pilot. This was totally 100% my fault. But here's the chain of events that happened. I'm in sport mode, so all the crash avoidance are turned off. I've got a plane in the sky, which now I'm panicking that we shouldn't be in the same airspace is what I'm getting at. And he had every right to be there because he was coming in for a landing. I had every right to be there because I can fly under 400 feet. But occasionally, you know, you got a conflict with another airplane. So drop down to 50 feet and come back home and everybody's happy. So I turned on sport mode, no crash avoidance. I descended really quickly. I hit a tree, but I thought, it's going to be fine. I've got the Find My Drone feature. I'll go get it. What I didn't realize was in the 20 acres of farm that I was flying over, there was a stand of trees. Now, the unfortunate part is I came down right on top of the trees. I don't think I could have done that if I tried, but I came down on top of the trees, crashed into the tree, and then it fell to the ground. And then underneath those trees, again, a very, very small part of that 20-acre farm is an irrigation pit where they keep water to irrigate the crops in the field. Rainwater goes in there, they fill it up occasionally. It's sort of like a little lake. It's more of a swamp really than anything. And what are my chances of it crashing, hitting the tree, tumbling down, and then landing in the water? Now what happens when it hits the water? Well, the protection in the battery takes over and shuts off the drone. So here I am searching for the drone with my Find My Drone feature. It takes me right over to that stand of trees. I'm within a couple of feet of the drone, and what do I see in front of me? A giant swamp. And that's where the drone ended up. So I guess what I'm trying to convey here is that as experienced as I am, and I've had thousands and thousands of flights on almost every drone that's on the market today of a major manufacturer, so I feel like I'm a very competent pilot. And I'm sure a lot of you are excellent pilots, probably much better than I am in the air. But as an experienced pilot, I did everything right. I understood the area, I had situational awareness. I was checking for aircraft in the area. There was no ADS-B beacons. I wasn't in an Z zone. I'd planned out my route. The mistake I made was put it in sport mode to come back, and that combination of me in sport mode, forgetting I'm in sport mode, and seeing a plane, pilot error, I panicked, and I'm gonna be honest, I panicked, dropped the drone, which is what I should have done, hit the tree, and then instead of pulling it back up and getting out, if I'd have just taken just a second to take my breath and think about it and gather my thoughts, I would have realized, you know what, it's still flying, it hasn't hit anything, just elevate. Let the plane fly past, stay there for a couple of minutes, elevate, get up over top of the trees and fly back home and you'll be fine. But instead, what did I do? I panicked and hit the joystick forward, ran right into the tree. So 100% pilot error on my part. The unfortunate part is I was also suffering from a lot of really bad luck because right below where I decided to crash into a tree was a giant swamp. So that drone is out there somewhere in the swamp. We're heading back today to go over there, try to throw a hook out and see if we can find the drone or dredge for the drone to get it out of the water. But it's a goner at this point. There's no way I'm going to be able to pull that drone back. But I guess the final thought I had was, and this surprised me, it's a drone. Now, I've given away drones. We do the 12 Days of Drone Valley Christmas every year. We give away a lot of products. I've had friends that have taken drones. I don't think twice about it, right? It's just a gift. I give it away. Everybody gets a drone and they're happy. This one really, really hit me in a way that I didn't expect. It was sort of like I came home from that experience and sat down with my wife and I felt like I just lost a dog, like a dog had run off and I couldn't find him. It was an incredibly weird experience for me. And I know it sounds strange to admit that, but to come home and think that was my buddy that I was friendly with. I took time to learn how the drone flies. We built a relationship, so I understood exactly how the drone reacted up in the air, and now it was gone at that point. And it hit me harder than I thought it would. So kind of a strange admittance there. I probably shouldn't have said that, but it was impactful. And I'm sure if you've ever lost a drone, the first thing you'll feel is panic. The second thing is when you can't find the drone, you'll have a profound sense of loss. And it isn't even the money so much, it's the joy of flying, right? The drone's gone. Now I've got to replace that Air 3, and I'm going to do that and get back out there and fly again. And the last point I'd like to make is that the other thing I felt when I came home was I'd lost a little of my mojo in the air. I felt a little bit unsettled that I came home and I thought to myself, you know, Rick, you've been flying a lot of years, a lot of drones in a lot of weird places, a lot of really dangerous flights where high winds or high altitudes or a lot of bramble, and you've come home completely fine with your drones. You crashed that drone in an open field over a stand of trees in the middle of a wide open field with a swamp underneath it. You're not as good a pilot as you think you are. Maybe you should take a second and take your time next time, right? Settle down, take a breath. So for me, it was sort of a learning moment. I hope that it's helped you guys as well. I'm sure you're not crashing drones every day, but I guess the message I'm trying to get across is we all do it. Don't be embarrassed by it. 100% pilot error in this case, nothing to do with the technology, and just pick up and move on. But I am going to get back out tomorrow with the Air 2S, which is downstairs in the basement. Take that out, power up the batteries, and get out there and fly, because I don't want to have this unsettled feeling about flying last any longer than it has to, because I love flying, and I know you guys love flying as well. So that's my story for today. Kind of a bummer, but hopefully we learn a little bit together here. So thanks an awful lot for watching. I promise you I'll be back out with the brand new Air 3 in a couple of days as soon as it arrives, and I'll have a ton of footage posting on the channel. Hope you guys are having a great summer, and until next time, as always, happy flying.